Hello everyone, trust we are doing okay. Today we'll be reviewing another interesting book titled Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Ever since I started reading this book in my book club, I have come across about 2 or 4 people randomly mention this topic in entirely different conversations. I guess it goes further to validate the claim that when you become aware of a thing, it begins to gravitate towards you even more. In the opening chapters of this book, Daniel discusses extensively on how it has been statistically proven that EQ, emotional quotient, is a better metric to measure success in comparison to IQ. He makes mention of the extensive research that has, proven that there has been commendable improvement over the years in the academic space due to the introduction of social and emotional learning, SEL, in school curriculum. Oxford Dictionary defines emotional intelligence as the capacity to be aware of, to control and express one's emotion, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathically. Emotional intelligence is key to both personal and professional successes. Amongst the inexhaustible concepts discussed in this book, the one that stood out the most for me was the concept of the ventilation fallacy. Perhaps it's because I have fallen a victim of this myself in times past. Contrary to the opinion that says that we can feel better when we vent, Goleman explains that venting when angry prolongs your mood rather than end it. He tells a story about when he was in New York and he entered into a cab. The angry cab driver was honking the horn at a young man, asking him to move out of the way. When the young man was unresponsive, he yelled a couple of, unpleasant words to him, and he drove off. Visibly still agitated, he said to Daniel, "You just can't take anything from anybody. You have to yell back sometimes. At least it makes you feel better." Findings from multiple studies argue that venting your anger doesn't make you feel better, but instead it prolongs and amplifies your anger. It pumps up the emotional brain arousal and leave people feeling more angry and maybe sometimes guilty. Although venting when you are sad is a better way to have your feelings validated, but it's not as effective when you are angry. After reading this, I understood why I ended up feeling worse on the rare occasions when I have had an outburst. I typically begin to replay the whole incident in my head, asking questions like, "Miriam, couldn't you have done better?" Or "Miriam, couldn't you have avoided this? You should have handled this better." And all of that feedback loop thing that happens. I believe what this kind of outburst does to our relationship is to put a strain or a dent on our relationships, and this can almost never be fixed. You might spend a lot of time making amends and apologizing. However, I have witnessed firsthand how these kinds of relationships just never blossomed or remained the same. The author went further to graciously prescribe what we can do when we feel angry. First, you take few deep breaths to slow your heart rate. Second, go for a walk. Don't indulge in anger-provoking thoughts. And when bad thoughts comes to your mind, or as bad thoughts come to you, you write them down and reframe them. For example, if you are having a conversation with a friend, he or she storms out, what you can do instead of saying, "Oh my God, she's always needlessly cranky," is to reframe that thought. Take that thought, write it down and say something like, "I guess she just really had a hard time at work today," or "Work has been a lot lately and she'll come around soon." Some other lessons learned in this book include: do not ruminate when you are sad. Distract yourself instead. A good way to distract yourself would be to indulge in aerobic exercises. They can get you pumped up. Go for the easy successes by completing tasks that you have been stalling for a while, and then you reap the rewards. Reframe your situations and look out for what you can learn from it. And help others in need. It helps us to empathize with others and lead us out of negativity. The third lesson is to criticize constructively. If you are managing people, especially if you are in a position that entails you managing a lot of people, maybe under your team at work, or even as an older sibling, just anywhere where you have to give criticism to people, you have to learn the right way to criticize. So rather than being harsh and just rather too forward, rather than saying things like "you're screwing up, you're messing up," a much more effective way to criticize would be to say something like, Given the time constraint that we have, you might want to think of better ways of achieving this project and closing up on the actions in this deal, even if it entails collaborating with other team members. If you must criticize, then you have to be specific, you have to offer a solution, you have to be sympathetic, and you have to be sensitive by showing empathy. I would like to close with a quote by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said and what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. With that said, I would love to admonish us to treat people with a little more grace and ultimately do to all men what you would have them do to you. I implore you to read this book, and I hope you have been able to learn a thing or two. Until next time, I remain your girl, Miriam, aka Achille, aka Chels. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. You can also watch my previous review videos. See you in my next review. Peace out.